WARFRAME 179. Hey everyone, it's me again. Today I got you the latest dev stream. I'm really excited to tell you everything about this stream, so without further ado, let's get right into it. In this stream, they talked about tenno and some VIP tickets, and the stug didn't want to take off his helmet.
If you're okay in there, Stug, can you give us a thumbs up?
They introduced some tennogen items, cosmetics, and other stuff. Also, they talked about some stuff about WARFRAME 1999 and the design concept of Arthur and Aoi and their motorcycle, and they called the motorcycle the Atomi Cycle. Also, they talked about Protea Prime release, and it will be the 1st of May, and it will come with Velox Prime and Okina Prime. Stay tuned to know everything about them when they get released. And also they introduced kuva, sobek, and tenet, glaxion. This is really interesting since you can mod, since the sobek is already good and the glaxion is really bad. But there is a catch, wait for it. And the stug still don't want to show his face.
Picker, shall we, while the stug makes life choices on if they'll take the helmet off or not.
We can sweeten the deal. It's a one-time offer though, Stug. This is the last time. We've talked to our people. If you sign here, not only will you get the 5-star stories, I will give you 1 bronze ingot for your forge. Do we got a deal? An ingot? An ingot?
A single ingot?
An ingot could be yours. 1 bronze ingot. Could be yours. 2 ingots! All right, 2 bronze ingots.
And the big reveal, the stug unmasks himself, or should I say herself, and she's Kaz. Also, they talked about the next WARFRAME calling her Jade and showed some art concepts for her. Also, they gave her 3 new signature weapons because they want her to be the opposite of Stalker. Also, this WARFRAME will come with a special quest for Stalker himself. Also, they made some art concepts for a ship to present Stalker. Yeah, it's a new orbiter. Also, they introduced the new eximus. Also, some quality of life updates, one of them being adding the alchemy game mode into the circuit, some WARFRAME augments and arcanes, but they didn't mention any of them yet. Also, the acquisition of Necromix is going to improve. Also, they want to increase the drop rates of Shadow Stalkers items and Deb bonds, and they want to change the standing quantities in Nutracells and Deep Archimedia, and they will allow us to replay Whispers in the Walls quests. And here's the big thing that you are really need to listen to. Paplo added some of his magic again. Yeah, baby. Another lovely golden finger from Mr. Paplo. He modified the enemy scaling and added a new rework for some status effects. And don't worry, no viral changes, no slash changes, no corrosive changes. But let's start one thing at a time. First of all, you need to know that there is 13 unique health types and 13 damage types and statuses. You want to change these types of armor into 3 categories, which is Grenier, Corpus, and Infested, at least for now, because they want to encourage us to use other elements like Blast, Cold, and Magnetic, not to rely on viral slash, viral, heat, corrosive, and heats, these types of builds. But wait, there is more. They are adding a nice addition to the star chart. Each mission will tell you what type of damage damage is good against the enemies you're going to face in this node. For example, this interception node has a suggested damage which is impact and magnetic. This, for example, of course, since it's a corpus mission. But wait, there is more. Paplo is adding some changes to armor scaling. In the picture you see here, you see a heavy gunner with 44k health and 10k armor. This armor gives the heavy gunner a 97.3 damage reduction, but if you apply 10 stacks of corrosive, you reduce this armor by 90%. And funny enough, this 90% is 2163 armor, which is the equivalent of 87.8 damage reduction. So you actually didn't benefit from the corrosive status effect at all. You're still dealing a little damage. So he's making a new cap for armor to give the corrosive status effect more impact and make the armor reduction from it more effective. And the armor scaling curve will aim to be more spread out as opposed to be bottom heavy. So you get better damage and you don't need to rely on armor stripping on the long term. Also, he gave the enemies a minimum threshold of armor, so no enemy will have armor below this threshold. And he's going to increase the health scaling for Grenier enemies to compensate for the loss in damage reduction and try to maintain a similar time to kill feel. Also, he's changing some shield mechanics for the corpus units, not the tennos. So the more they scale in levels, they regen their shields faster, so they get shorter regeneration delay, and the enemy scaling from 100 to the limit, which is 9k, will gain faster increase in stats, health, shields, whatever. Now, there is more, and this more is bigger than any other more I said during this video. So this is a pay attention moment, please, and give me some drum rolls for the next buff. It's the blast. The blast is getting buffed tremendously.
And finally, blast. I'm actually going to talk the least about that, even though it's the one that's changing the most, just because we basically have tried quite a few things and we're still changing things. So I don't want to promise anything right now because we are going to change. It's definitely going to change, but it's going to be blasty. You know, that's
it. That's a design job done. Blasty blast.
Blasty it shall be.
The blast status effect we know now reduce the enemy's accuracy towards you, so they shoot you less. The new blast will literally blast him away. So whenever you proc a blast proc on an enemy, he explodes, dealing some damage, and each stack has its own timer, and the blast stack goes after a second. Also, the accumulated blast stacks occur on death explosions, using their combined damage from when initially dealt, and forcing stagger to affected enemies, and the radius of trigger explosion via death may grow in radius per stack. And God knows what is the cap, he didn't mention. Also, the cold status effect is getting buffed.
Basically starting with cold. Cold will now fully freeze enemies, and when it reaches the full freeze at full stacks, you'll see like a visual effect change of them being totally frozen, and the critical damage bonus gets doubled when you reach that max. So that's the change for that one.
Allowing it to freeze enemies when it reaches the max stacks and give you final critical damage multiplier, which is 2 times. Also, the frozen enemies will not be able to regen their shields. This is unintentional buff to frosts, since he already has biting frosts that increase critical damage and crit chance. But unfortunately, the cold procs won't work on VIP enemies like the acolytes and bosses, since they can't be frozen. And in these types of scenario, you won't get the critical damage increase, unfortunately. The gas is taking some FX changes to make it better visually, and you see how much strong it is.
We're changing gas just in presentation. We're not changing anything mechanic for it, but gas is pretty invisible. There were some checks that we saw that in some tilesets you can see it. In most tilesets it's totally invisible, so we're just improving it in terms of presentation so that you can actually detect it.
If the player doesn't see it, it doesn't happen. So if you know how good gas is, you know, but if you're using a gas weapon, you maybe feel like the AoE toxin clouds and those things aren't even, you can't even see them happen sometimes.
Yeah, I'd actually see quite like, especially on newer players, there's a lot of confusion on what does gas even do.
Yeah.
Even though it's super strong, basically it's very hard to use because you just cannot see, cannot see the thing.
Well, we just need smell-o-vision, right?
Exactly. It's
The magnetic is getting nice buff. The magnetic status effect will affect the regeneration delay of shields and the regeneration rate of shielded enemies. Additionally, they want to add the ability to the magnetic damage to increase the minimum damage against nullifier bubbles and increase the maximum damage against nullifier bubbles. And this will help people who are afraid from nullifiers, but honestly just use a miter with its augment to pop it with one tap. And they're adding a new mod for the semi-automatic weapons to make the fire rate fixed but give you more damage and punch through. I don't know why it's good, but it will exist.
But yeah, the semi-auto basically, we were looking, obviously last time we did auto melee, which was kind of in the same vein as this. So what we are doing is, this time we are going to try it as a setting, because we feel like in this one, unlike melee, there is a little bit more where you can accidentally waste ammo. So because of that, we are going to make it a setting, so it's your choice. And essentially, it will be, you can now press the button and just hold it, and it will just shoot. So yeah, we're doing that. So for a long time, I'll be totally honest, I was the one that resisted this change, because I feel like it really kills like the fiction of some of the weapons, you know, particularly like a sniper rifle just going like toon, 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 toon. It just doesn't feel like a sniper rifle. But I also recognize that the reality in the ground is that you guys will put it on your mouse wheel and it just goes boom, 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 boom. So what we're going to do, besides the setting, is that now you can, we're going to release a mod just for semi-auto weapons that disables the ability to change the fire rate, but gives you a bunch of damage and punch through in exchange.
That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video or learned something new. Please consider subscribing. It's free. You can always change your mind. Also, dropping a like is very appreciated. Stay tuned and see you all next time in the next video. Bye bye.